All right, welcome guys to the NBA live stream. We got two games to talk about today. Excited to talk about this slate. I think it's a fun one. I think there's a couple different ways you can get different. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name's DK. We'll take a look at what we know so far. We're really not waiting on much. I mean, they have Embiid listed as questionable, but he's going to play. We already got the Mike Conley news. Take a look at the big sides and go team by team, talk about the players I like, and leave some time for questions at the end. So yeah, the two pieces of news we're waiting on Embiid and Conley. Again, Embiid is going to play. I have no doubt about it. Conley already ruled out, so we already got those two pieces of news. Kyrie and James Harden already out tomorrow, so that'll be interesting for the Nets Bucks series. As far as these Vegas odds, pretty close in both these games. 225.5 over under for the first game. 76ers 3.5 point favorites, and the Jazz Clippers is a 223.5 over under. The Clippers 4.5 point favorites. What's going on, guys? Is Top Shot dead? I don't think so. I mean, obviously prices have dropped a lot, but still believe in the platform long term. Yeah, that'll be a time for another video. But yeah, if you guys are just coming in, if you could hit that like button, it helps me out a lot. And yeah, let's start off with Philly. So on the Philadelphia side, Joel Embiid at 10.5. I'm just going to continue to play him. It's just pretty simple for me. It's still, the price is not there enough. He should be 11K in the playoffs, maybe even 11K plus. So I still think he's underpriced for his role, right? In a close game, if he stays out of foul trouble, he's going to play 38 minutes. So it's just too cheap, right? He's priced like he's going to play 32, 33 minutes, which is just not the case in a close game. And we know he's a great point per minute guy. So I think he's a phenomenal play once again. I really, really like Embiid. I think once again he'll be lower owned than he should be. If we go back 3 games ago, 10% owned on a 2-game slate. He was like 30% owned here, and he's only about 50% owned here. And so, yeah, I think he'll be lower owned than he should. I love Embiid. With Tobias and Ben Simmons, I think are both decent secondary contrarian options. I think there's other stars I'd rather get to. Like, I'd rather get to Trae Young in the opposite side for a little bit more. I think I'd rather have Mitchell. I would rather have Paul George at a similar price. But I will say, if you're fading Embiid, then I probably look to get to one of these guys. Same thing I said about Milwaukee, right? If you're fading Giannis, you get to Drew or Middleton or even both. You can do the same with Embiid, right? If you're fading Embiid, then maybe you just play both Tobias and Ben Simmons. I definitely think that's contrarian, but I wouldn't full fade the Philadelphia Stars on this 2-gamer. So Tobias at 8-1, he's been pretty consistent. 43, 38, and 39 fantasy points so far in this series. You know, it's nothing crazy, but not really going to win you a tournament. And Ben Simmons at 7-6, couple frustrating or not so great games. 23, 34 fantasy points. 7-6 price is doable, right? He's still a guy that can go out and get you a triple-double. So, but yeah, really, my main interest there is Embiid. Embiid is the priority play for me of those 3 guys. South Korea 5-1's kind of just there. He'll play about 30 minutes. Pretty reliant on scoring, so there is some risk, but he is one of the better shooters in the NBA, so I have no issue with Seth Curry. I think he's a perfectly fine play. Where things get interesting here is Danny Green. So Danny Green got injured last game, only played 4 minutes. It was a combination of Korkmaz and Shake Milton that really picked up the minutes there. So Korkmaz played 27 minutes last game. My guess is he starts for Danny Green. If he does start, I think a fair guess for minutes around 25, which would make him one of the better value plays. Even though he's scoring dependent, it's at a price point where if the minutes are there, I'm just willing to roll the dice and hope he hits his shots. And then Shake Milton. So played really well 2 games ago. Played decent last game, 21 minutes, 10 fantasy points. My guess is we get somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes from him. The only concern I have with Shake Milton is what I said about this Philadelphia bench is they're going to go with the hot hands. So they have other guys they can use. They have a George Hill, a Thibault they kind of want out there for defense. Maybe Tyrese Maxey gets back in the rotation. We know he's an aggressive player in the offensive end. So there's ways this goes wrong, right? There's still, even with Korkmaz, there's a little bit of risk. I think whoever starts is probably the safest option, but yeah, the guys on the bench, again, like Maxey was out of the rotation last game. That doesn't mean he can't come out and play 20 minutes tonight. Like, I wouldn't be super shocked, right? If he plays really well, they might extend him. George Hill, I think, gets about 15 minutes either way. He's been really bad, but he is 3.3K. And then, yeah, I mentioned Thibault too. I think we get around 15 to 20 minutes. Again, though, really more out there for his defense. So With the 76ers and their value, I think I feel the best about whoever starts. My guess is Korkmaz. I think Shake is probably the guy I feel the second best about, but still, it's not like I'm not super confident in it because Doc Rivers has shown he's going to go with the hot hand with this bench rotation. For the Atlanta Hawks, I think Trae Young's a pretty good spend up. Now, is he my favorite spend up on the board? No. He's priced about the same as Mitchell. At that price, I think I would give the edge to Mitchell. But obviously, Trae, this is kind of a must-win game for the Hawks, right? They don't want to go down 3-1 going back to Philly. So I think Trae pushes for 40 minutes here. He's shown upside even tougher matchups. Right? The Knicks was a tough matchup. He had a couple big games. He had the really big game one against Philly. So I'm still not super worried about it for Trae with the matchup. I think he makes for a pretty good spend up on the slate. Capella, no interest. Continue to have no interest in him in the playoffs. But then the secondary plays here for the Hawks, I think, all make for pretty good mid-range to value plays. Bogdanovich, going to play massive minutes, has been pretty consistent. You know, his last two games were actually his two worst, 27 and 26 fantasy points, but he's still playing big minutes and is at a reasonable enough price point. Same with John Collins. He should play about 35 minutes. Hasn't been amazing, but it's at a decently high floor. 34, 24, 33, 25, and 30 fantasy points the last 5 games. 5'9" feels about right, so I think he's, again, a pretty safe option. And then Huerter, Gallinari, both guys are going to get extended run here with DeAndre Hunter. So Huerter played really bad last game, also got in foul trouble, was the massive chalk bust. So this is funny, right? Let's just talk about this. Gallinari, game 1 against Philly, when Hunter is out, he was the absolute chalk. 70% owned, he busted. The next slate, he came in and was 5% owned. And I even tweeted about it, hey, nothing changed, right? Nothing changed with Gallinari from him going from 70% to 5% other than he had one bad game. It's crazy how recency bias affects ownership that much. I think it's going to do it again here with Gallinari and Huerter. So Gallinari, back-to-back solid games, where Huerter was the absolute chalk last slate. He was 75 to 80% in the higher dollar stuff. He was a huge bust. And now, I think Gallinari is going to be the much more popular option. And for me, I mean, if Gallinari is going to be double, triple the ownership of Kevin Huerter, just give me Kevin Huerter there, right? They're obviously, you know, whoever plays better is going to get a few extra minutes with Huerter and Gallinari. It kind of just comes down to an ownership thing. And again, it's really crazy how one bad performance affects ownership that much. But my guess is we get Gallinari double the ownership, maybe even more of Huerter because of that last game. But like I said, from game 1, right, nothing has changed here. Huerter, 2 games ago, was 75% owned. Nothing has changed other than he had one bad game. So there you go with Huerter, Gallinari. Again, my take is I think both are good values. Both should play 25 to 30-ish minutes. Whoever shoots better, plays a little bit better, should get extended a little bit more. And it's really just an ownership thing. So yeah, that's where I'm at for those 2 guys. And no interest really in anyone else. Solomon Hill probably starts. Not going to go there. Lou Williams in large field tournaments, sure. He can get hot in 10 to 15 minutes. Maybe get you 15 fantasy points. He did get 15 last time out, but not something I feel super good about. All right, so let's move on to Utah and the Clippers. Real quick, guys, if you're just coming in, one more time I'll ask if you could hit that like button. It helps me out a ton. We're at 200-plus viewers already. Only 33 likes. Try to get to 100 before the end of the show. Gallo higher owned. Yep, that's kind of what I expected. It's just if Gallo's going to be way higher owned than Huerter, I'll just take Huerter. They're pretty similar plays to me. It just comes down in a 2-game slate. It comes down to ownership. Yeah, it has. It really has. Like I said, game 1, Gallo 70%, Huerter Huerter was lower owned, and then last game, Huerter was the absolute chalk, and Gallinari didn't get a ton of ownership. And now it's going to be Gallinari is going to be the chalk, and Herter's going to be a lot lower owned. All right, so let's talk about Utah now. And Mitchell is one of my favorite plays of the board on the slate today. 9K is too cheap for him. Don't care what anyone says. He rolled that ankle and didn't play much in the fourth quarter and still went for almost 50 fantasy points. Has an insane usage rate right now without Mike Conley. I love Mitchell here. I love him. I think he's going to be a lot lower owned than he should be. He should be one of the most, if not the most popular play in the slate, in my opinion. He should be very, very popular. I don't think he's going to be, though. So I love Mitchell here at 9K. One of my favorite plays on this 2-game slate. Rudy Gobert at 7-4 is kind of just there. You guys know I do not like playing him. He's gone for under 30 in 2 of the last 3 games. he should be able to dominate against his front court. He really hasn't against a small ball front court. So I think Gobert's fine. Again, the one game he had a really good game was when the Clippers played bigger, right? When they had Zubac out there and they had Boogie Cousins. The 2 games he struggled was when the Clippers stuck to their small ball. So, and I would assume Clippers want to go back to small ball again. So I just think Gobert's kind of just there. Fine option, but I don't love it. And again, Conley once again out. So Clarkson, Ingles get the biggest usage bump. I think I prefer Ingles a little bit point per dollar since he's at 5K. We should get over 30 minutes from him. He's shot better last couple games, 7 of 10, 6 of 11. He's a guy that can do it all, can get some assists, can rebound the ball, maybe get you a steal or 2. I think Ingles makes for a pretty good play in the mid-range. I think Clarkson makes for a good tournament play. We know he's not afraid to shoot the ball. He's going to come off the bench and shoot. That's just what he does. The issue is the peripheral stats, right? He does have a little bit of a lower floor of the shots, not falling, but he's still a guy that can go for 30-plus for sure here. And if Mitchell maybe aggravates that ankle injury, then Clarkson's going to come in and probably crush. So, I like Clarkson, like Ingles, probably for Ingles a little bit point per dollar. Bojan's fine. His role doesn't change much, but he's going to play big minutes, 38, 39, 36 minutes. The reason why I don't like playing Bojan a ton is because he's very, very reliant on the scoring. But if he's knocking down his shots, like he can go for 35 to 40. So I'm intrigued. He's at a price point where it's like, okay, I'm fine going to Bojan here because the minutes plus the fact that if he's actually hitting some shots, he has upside. And Royce O'Neal, been playing really well so far in the playoffs. Should play big minutes, 35 plus. A guy that not the best shooter, but can kind of do it all. A decent rebounder, can get some of those blocks and steals. And again, they need him out there for his defense. So I'm pretty high on Utah. I like a lot of the Utah guys. Basically, besides Gobert, every other of the main guys like Mitchell, Clarkson, Bojan, Ingles, Royce, and all look pretty good. Not a ton of interest there in Niang. I will mention Favors because he should play 12 to 15 minutes off the bench. He's been bad last couple games, but most of the time he's a guy that probably gets you double-digit fantasy points, like in limited runs. So I think Favors is probably my favorite min-price guy on this 2-game slate. And let's finish it up with the Clippers now. So Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, 10K and 8.6K respectively. Paul George stands out a lot more, right? Because it's just the price. He's $1,400 cheaper. If they were close to the same price, I would prefer Kawhi, but $1,400, give me Paul George. Again, game 1, he had an awful shooting game, still went for almost 40 fantasy points. I think this is just too cheap. Now, I was saying in the chat he's going to be the most popular play in the slate. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think I'd rather have Mitchell at a similar price. I would rather have Embiid for more, but I still like Paul George. I think he's one of the better spenders on the board. Now, that being said, I think Kawhi Leonard makes for an interesting contrarian play. Definitely not looking to him an optimal lineup. I'm not going there with my one lineup. I'm not trying to get that different because then you have to sacrifice too much to get Kawhi in. But he can still go out and get you 50 to 60 fantasy points, where he's gone for 60 through the last 5 games. I just think there's other guys that look a little bit better point per dollar. So Kawhi is a decent contrarian option, but definitely not an optimal play. Reggie Jackson, perfectly fine with him. He's been their 3rd best scorer so far in the playoffs. Should get around 30 minutes. Yeah, I think he's perfectly fine. And then Batum and Marcus Morris, I think, are good values if they continue to go small. I would guess we get somewhere around 30 minutes for both of them. Minutes have been fluctuating a little bit for Batum, but assuming he starts, I think he's a good value. Guy that can knock down some shots and get some of the peripheral stats. Marcus Morris has been struggling a little bit recently, but he's at a price point where I'm willing to buy in. Again, he got limited last game. I'm not super worried about it. I would think both these wings hover in the 30, maybe even 35-minute range. Morris, Batum, I think are both pretty good values. With a guy like Zubac, I think we get around 10 to 15 minutes off the bench. Playable because he's a decent point per minute guy, but a little bit more contrarian because of what I think should be the lack of minutes. Unless you get early foul trouble, maybe Morris or Batum, then maybe Zubac plays a little bit more. Rondo, I mean, he got a DNP last game. He played 28 minutes, game 1. Something weird could happen. Ty Lue has shown he's just been messing with his bench rotation. So, like, maybe in, like, a large field tournament, you can roll the dice in Rondo and hope he's back in the rotation. But it's not something I feel good about at all. Same with Kennard, right? He played 30 minutes game 1, and they've been down recently 10 and 17. Very light in the scoring. I don't feel amazing about it. Terrence Mann basically went from a DNP the first 2 games to playing 22 minutes last game. Again, who knows what Ty Lue's going to do? My guess is Mann gets run because I think he's actually a pretty good player and should be getting minutes. But again, who knows what Ty Lue's going to do? I do not think Pat Beverly should be in the rotation. I think that is an awful decision. He does nothing on the court. 21, 60 minutes last 2 games. I am not going there. I think there's a chance his minutes go down. And Boogie got a DNP last game. So really what I'm saying is I want to focus on the starters. If I'm going to take a shot on someone on the off the bench, it's going to be Zubac or Mann. The rest, there's a chance guys get DNPs or play very, very limited minutes. All right, guys, so that's kind of where I'm at now for this 2-gamer. Let's refresh, see if we got any more starting lineup news for either of these teams in the early game. Nothing. All right, so leave some questions in the chat, and let's do it, guys. 219 viewers, 63 likes. Again, if you're just coming in, hit that like button. Thank you again. And let's see. Fading Embiid, raw points, though, ain't group that chalky play. I think Batum, Morris are huge burns. How do you feel about Mitchell, Herter, Korkmaz, O'Neal, Embiid? Bogdan, yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I like your stars. I like those kind of mid-range guys you got in there. Looks pretty solid. Top fade, Kawhi Leonard is too pricey for me. Simmons, Clarkson, and Bogdan. Are we talking point per dollar here? Point per dollar, it's probably Bogdan, then Clarkson, then Simmons. Yeah, it's really a raw points thing with Embiid. Like, I just think it's worth it for me. He is going to play 38 minutes in a competitive game. Mitchell, Korkmaz, Batum, Collins, Embiid, Bogdanovich, Ingles, and Jackson. Yeah, I think it looks good. Bogdanovich, more fancy points. Lean the Atlanta Bogdanovich. Gallinari, Batum, or Morris, last piece in. It's pretty close to those guys, right? All three, I think, are pretty similar. All three, I think, get maybe close to 30 minutes. I don't have a super strong take on that because, you know, it could be a hot hand situation with all three, where if Gallinari, Herter, right, whoever plays better is going to play a little bit more. Kind of same with Batum and Morris. So I really don't have a super strong take on those three. I think they're all very, very similar plays. Ingles or Reggie, I'll give a slight edge to Ingles over Reggie. I think he does a little bit more in the peripheral stats department, but like them both. Man, he played really well in the second half. That kind of left him in there. I don't know if he was actually closing the game in garbage time. But yeah, Trey, George, Thibault, Niang, it's too contrarian. Two stars and scrubs for me. I think there's a lot of good plays in that 4 to 5K range that I don't think playing. You have 4 stars and then just all scrubs. I don't think that's worth it. I think what you want to do is either pick 2 or 3 kind of stars and then focus in that 4 to 5K range for your value. Tacos or pasta. I'll give the edge to tacos there. Milton, yeah, it's going to be Milton over Thibault for me. I think he's just a better offensive player if both get similar minutes. Trey or Paul George, that one's pretty close. Point per dollar, probably a slight edge to Paul George. Straight up, it's going to be Trae Young for me. Ingles or Curry, again, that is kind of close. I'll give the edge to Ingles. Korkmaz or Milton, yeah, I think if Korkmaz starts, I think I would give the slight edge to him, but the risk with Korkmaz is he's pretty scoring dependent. Favors over Cousins for me because we know Favors is going to play. I think there's a decent chance Cousins gets another DNP like he did last game. Herter, Batum, smarter than Gallo and Herter together. I think so, yeah. Pick one of O'Neal, Gallo. Yeah, again, they're all really similar to me. I think O'Neal's role is probably the safest of like 35-ish minutes. Like his minutes don't really fluctuate. We've seen Gallo's fluctuate. We've seen Batum and Morris's fluctuate. So I guess O'Neal's probably the safest of the bunch. Collins, Milton, Ingles, or Gallo, Batum, Ingles, or Herter, Bojan, and Zubac. It's going to be the second one there. Top 4 Philly players. Are we talking point per dollar, or are we just talking straight up? Because Embiid's my favorite spend up. Value, I think whoever starts looks like the best value play. My guess is Korkmaz. Is Collins Cork versus Gallo Herter? Decision solely based if Korkmaz gets the start, like if he does first. Yeah, I think so. Like if Cork, but it's pretty close to that bunch. Like I still like the Gallo Herter combo, but I think I would slightly give edge to Collins Korkmaz if Korkmaz does start. Yeah, see, you guys are asking me a lot of those guys in that like high 4 to low 5K range. I think they're all really similar plays. Gallinari, Herter are basically identical plays. It comes down to ownership. So what I will say is I think Gallinari is going to be way more popular after Herter was the bust. So for tournaments, I think I prefer Herter. With Batum and Morris, kind of the same thing. Batum had the good game last game. I think they're very similar plays. So straight up in tournaments, maybe slight edge to Morris because he had the bad game. But they're really, it just comes down to ownership with that group for me. Yeah, Coke over ice. Definitely not an iced tea guy. Never been an iced tea guy. Bogdan, Korkmaz. Let's see where you are. Bogdan, Korkmaz, Ingles, Collins, Embiid, Reggie, Batum, Mitchell, or Mitchell, Korkmaz, Morris, Gallo, Embiid, Ingles, Batum, Paul George. I'll lean the second one. I like the second one a little bit better. Yeah, I'm good playing both Morris and Batum together. Again, Morris got his minutes cut last game, but that was because Terrence Mann played really well. I think they're both decent values, so I think you can play both. Favorite guard play, price doesn't matter, Mitchell, and it's not close. I love Mitchell today. Imagine fading Solomon Hill. That will be me. I'll definitely be fading Solomon Hill. It's very yellow, yeah. Appreciate the super chat, though, Tori. Again, thank you, and congrats on your takedown last night. Congrats. Herder or Gallinari? Again, they're basically identical plays to me. What I'll say is Gallinari had the better game last game. He's going to be more popular. I think for tournaments, I would give that to Herder because I think he comes in at lower ownership. A pop filter? No, I don't have any filters or anything on the mic. Appreciate it, man. Hill or Milton? Yeah, definitely shake Milton for me. Chalk most likely to bust. I don't know if there's one that stands out here. I guess I'll just say Gallinari because I think he's going to be more popular than he should because him and Herder are basically the same play to me. And I think he'll be a lot more popular based on the last game. So I guess Gallo, but it's not saying I don't like Gallo. Like I have Gallo actually in my lineup right now. I just think he is probably getting a little bit more. Like ownership should be basically 50-50 with him and Herder is what I'm saying. And I don't think that's going to be the case tonight. Young, Herder, Korkmaz, Bogdanovich, Embiid, George, Batum, and George Hill. Okay, it's a little bit risky, right? So you got a couple of those cheap guys, 2 guys below 4K in Korkmaz and George Hill. I think you're just fingers crossed with George Hill and hoping to get you 15. If you can, I think you're looking in pretty good shape because I like everything else you got there. Again, Morris versus Gallo. It kind of depends what the rest of your lineup is. Like, if you have Herder in there, then I would go Morris. Or if you have, like, Batum in there, I would go Gallo, right? So, like, I mean, you can still play Batum and Morris together. You could still play Gallinari, Herder together. But, like, I would rather, if you can only pick, like, 2 of those wings, or if you have 4 guys like Gallinari, Herder, Morris, Batum, and you can only pick 2, I think the ideal build would probably be 1 and 1. Like 1 from the Atlanta group and 1 from the Clippers group. Imagine a fading Onyeka Okongwu. Patrick Bush, $10 super chat. Thank you, man. Good luck tonight, and thank you for your content yesterday. I cashed big in a couple of contests. I saw that. I saw you had a nice, 4X day. Congrats, man. Yeah, almost $300, right? That's a nice win. Nice win. Yes, I think that is a bad idea that you have no Utah players. I mean, unless that game blows out, I would try to get at least one Utah guy for sure. Yeah, I'm pretty high in the Jazz. Yeah, you can. You can run Gallo and Herder together for sure. That's fine. One of those guys who's going to get extended a little bit more, whoever plays better. Yeah, it's still Embiid for me over Gobert. We're talking just point per dollar general. I don't care that Embiid's to be more popular. I think people will still fade Embiid, and I think that's a mistake. Gobert over Collins. Well, point per dollar, it's pretty close. I think Collins looks like a little bit better value, obviously. I mean, crazy fading Mitchell, going Trey and value, hitting Milton and okay. I mean, I don't think it's crazy. Like I like Trae Young as a spend up. I have no issue with Gobert. I don't. Like he does have some upside. He's going up against a small ball team. He should be able to have his way. Yeah, so again, Herder versus Marcus Morris depends what the rest of your lineup looks like. If you have Nick Batum, then I would go Herder, or if you have like Gallinari in your lineup, then I'd go Marcus Morris. Again, not saying you can't play both, but that would be the decider for me because all those guys look basically identical. They really do. And I think all 4 look like pretty solid values. I wouldn't go Zubac. Yeah, Zubac I think gets about 10 to 15 minutes off the bench. He's been a decent point per guy. I think there is a way he plays more if like Morris or like a Batum get in early foul trouble. Slight lean to Ingles over Reggie, but it's pretty close. Thanks, man. Bogdan, Mitchell, Morris, Gallo, Embiid, Ingles, Batum, and Bojan. All right. I think it looks pretty decent, right? You have 2 stars and a little more balanced. I like it. I think that you either go that or you go like 3 stars and a little more balanced, but then you might have to play like one guy below 4K. What I don't want to do is I don't want to go that super stars and scrubs and try to get like 4 stars and then like all sub 4K guys. I don't think that is worth it. Thibault, don't have a ton of interest. I'd rather have, I mean, I guess they could start Thibault here. My guess is though it's Korkmaz. So whoever starts them makes for a pretty good value play. If I get to Mitch, should I play Ingles, Clarkson, Bojan? Yeah, if you can't get to Mitchell, I think I would try to get to at least one of them, Ingles or Clarkson. You don't have to play all 3, but I wouldn't fade the Jazz in general. Like if you are fading Mitchell, try to get to Ingles or Clarkson or Bojan, maybe 1 or 2 of those guys. Yeah, so like the reason I think you can fade Mitchell is the ankle injury. I think that's the only thing I'm a little bit worried about with Mitchell is the fact that he did kind of roll that ankle at the end of the game. Curry versus Reggie, small lean to Curry, but they're pretty similar plays. No, I'm fine with 2. Like you don't have to load up in Utah, but I like Mitchell and then a lot of the guys in that 5-6K range. He said he was good to go though. Like so, yes, the ankle is obviously a concern, but it's not like people faded Embiid because they're worried about his injury. Game 1, right? He was 10% owned. I'm just not going to get away from a guy that is a little bit banged up that I think is a great play. If he rolls his ankle again and is out for the game, so be it. So be it. I'm not going to fade because of that. I love Mitchell, but I'm going to... Okay, yeah, again, I think Trey's a good play too. I do. I think you can play Korkmaz and Milton. I think you could. Both saw 20-plus minutes last game. Shake 20, Korkmaz 27. I'm guessing we get similar run, but like I said with Doc Rivers, is he will go with the hot hand. So there's still a chance, like if Korkmaz plays really bad or Shake plays really bad, they have a lot of other guys they can go to, so there is still some risk, but I'm okay playing both those guys together. How about Simmons? He's just a contrarian play for me. Would much rather have Embiid for a couple thousand more. Trey, Herter, Morris, Batum, Embiid, Clarkson, Ingles, Bojan. That looks pretty good to me. 4K utility. So we're talking 4K and below. It's probably whoever starts for Danny Green. My guess is it's Korkmaz. But him and Shake, I think, have the best chance to get those minutes. Okay, so you're saying, okay, so that ownership actually isn't as wide as I thought it would be. So Gallinari looks like it's going to be 36% owned, Herter 25%. But still, I think they're almost identical plays. I would go to the lower owned one if you can. Like my one lineup, I can't. I have no salary remaining, even though I have Gallo in there. But Korkmaz, Bojan versus Morris and Curry. That's pretty close. I'll go the second one. Yeah, like you can make the argument for Dwight Howard. He is a good point per minute guy. I think you kind of need a blowout or maybe some foul trouble. Because other than that, right, Embiid's going to play 38 minutes. So at most, Dwight can play like maybe 10. Thibault and Williams. So, yeah, Thibault going to be more at the first defense, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. Lou Williams should play about 10 to 15 minutes on the bench, 11, 15, and 13. Like me, I think I'd rather roll the dice on Lou because he's a guy that is a good offensive player, where Thibault more at the first defense. Movie snack, besides popcorn, it's probably the Sour Patch Watermelon. I think it's a pretty chalky answer, though. Milton only 6%. All right, I mean, like I think he's doable for sure. Is playing all Mitchell, Clarkson, Ingles, and Bojan too contrarian? If you're doing that, then I'm probably just stacking the game, which is doable. But then you kind of need the blowout in the first game. So unless you're game stacking, then yes, it is too contrarian. If you are game stacking, then I think that is fine on a 2-gamer. Oh, yeah, it's bad. Chalky answer for sure, but if it's not popcorn, it's that for definitely. All right, so let's see. Do we have any starters yet? If not, I'm going to call it a day, guys. Appreciate you coming to check out the stream. Yeah, we're still waiting on the 76ers starters, but like I said, whoever starts for 76ers, my guess is Cork Mosling makes for pretty good value. Young or Mitchell? It's Mitchell for me. I like Mitchell more than Young. It is close, but yeah, I'll give the edge to Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell, Bogdan, Ingles, Morris, Embiid, Curry, O'Neal, and Herter. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. I like what you got going. I like you got 2 stars and a little more balance. All right, I am going to get out of here, guys. Good luck. Enjoy these 2 games. I'll be back here. We only got 1 game to talk about, but Bucks Nets. I'll video up later tonight for that one. So let's hope for some big winners tonight. And yeah, Bucks in 6. Hopefully, man. Hopefully. And I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Good luck, guys.